r/entitled parent stepdaughter exposes ex's plastic surgery to his mom. Hashtag chunk 1, the setup. I found out about the Botox the same way I find out about most things in my life, completely by accident, and at the worst possible time. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was in my car waiting for Sophia to finish her shift at the frozen yogurt place where she works. We had plans to grab dinner, just the two of us, which had become increasingly rare over the past year. Ever since Marcus moved out and things got messy, Sophia had been distant with me. Not hostile, exactly. Just pulling away. The kind of slow fade that happens when a teenager realizes you're no longer the united front they once knew you as. I was scrolling through Instagram, mindlessly, the way you do, when I saw him. Marcus. My ex-husband of 8 years, soon to be finalized in divorce court in exactly 47 days, not that I was counting. His new profile picture showed him at some charity gala, and I have to admit, he looked objectively good. Better than he had in years, actually. Gone was the soft belly he'd complained about constantly, the jawline he'd always said made him look like his father, the slightly asymmetrical smile he'd covered with his hand in every photo since his 30s. He looked like he'd walked out of a magazine. Which would have been, fine. Great, even. Whatever. I don't care what my ex looks like anymore. That's what I told myself as I double-tapped past his photo anyway. But then his mother commented. Asterisk, so proud of you, sweetie. All that dedication at the gym finally paying off. You look just like yourself again, the best version. Asterisk. And that's when I saw it. The comment thread. That long, nauseating thread of his friends congratulating him on his transformation, asking him for his workout routine, calling him an inspiration. And Marcus's responses, humble bragging about his dedication, his discipline, his 3 times a week trainer sessions, his new meal prep lifestyle. 3 times a week. The man who could barely commit to walking around the block during our entire marriage. I sat in that parking lot, my hands shaking, and tried to remember. When had he actually changed? I scrolled back through my memories like they were photos on a phone. There was last spring, when he'd suddenly needed more space and started saying he was finding himself. That's when he'd rented the apartment across town. That's also, now that I thought about it, when he'd started making excuses to not see Sophia on weekends. Gotta hit a workout, he'd say. Or, I'm meal prepping for the week. And I just accepted it. I was so caught up in the dissolution of my marriage, in trying to be the reasonable one, that I didn't question any of it. Until I found the credit card statement. It took me 3 minutes to locate it. The one thing I kept from the marital finances was a shared credit card for emergencies. Marcus had used it at Manhattan Aesthetic Institute 6 times. 6 times. $6,500 each time. I remember sitting on the kitchen floor in our old house, doing the math on my phone's calculator like an idiot, as if the number might somehow change if I added it differently. $30,000. That was during the period when he'd been telling me we couldn't afford new gutters. When he'd said we needed to cut back on Sophia's dance classes. When he'd suggested we take a year off from vacations to rebuild savings. $30,000 to rebuild his face and his body, apparently. The most infuriating part? He'd lied to his mother about it. Actually, actively, deliberately constructed an elaborate fiction about his fitness journey. And his mother, his judgmental, appearance-obsessed, comment-on-everyone's-weight mother, was buying it completely. That's when the car door opened and Sophia slid into the passenger seat, still wearing her yogurt place polo, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked tired. She was always tired these days. Hey, Mom, she said, not really looking at me. Hey, babe. How was work? Fine. I put my phone down. Tried to smile. You hungry? I was thinking that Italian place you like? Actually, Dad texted. He wants me to come over this weekend. He said he has something important to talk to me about. Of course he did. Okay, I said carefully. What time? Friday after school. He said it might take a while, so I'd probably sleep over. My stomach did a little flip. Marcus had been increasing his time with Sophia, and on the surface, I was glad. She needed her father. She deserved to have a relationship with him. But there was something about the way she mentioned these meetings that made my skin prickle, a kind of rehearsed casualness that suggested she'd been coached in how to present this information to me. That sounds good, I said, pulling out of the parking lot. What did you want to talk about? Sophia was quiet for a long moment. She was picking at a loose thread on her jeans, a habit she'd had since childhood that always meant she was uncomfortable. He's been saying some things, she finally said. About you. About how you've always been kind of controlling, and how he thinks maybe you were the reason things fell apart between you guys. There it was. I kept my hand steady on the steering wheel. I kept my voice level. Oh? He said he doesn't want to pressure me or anything, but he wanted me to know his perspective. He said you might try to make me choose sides, and he wanted to make sure I didn't believe the things you might tell me about him. He was doing it. Trying to manipulate her. Trying to poison our relationship before the divorce was even final, building his narrative, getting ahead of whatever I might say. And sitting in that car, with my stepdaughter, because that's what she'd always been, really, since I'd raised her since she was 8 years old while her mother flitted in and out of the picture, I felt something crystallize inside me. I knew exactly what I was going to do. Hashtag chunk 2, the complications. I didn't respond to Sophia right away. Instead, I turned up the radio, just slightly, and kept my eyes on the road ahead. My therapist would have called this a pause for emotional regulation. I called it the exact moment I realized I was about to make a decision that would either protect my relationship with my stepdaughter or blow it up entirely. Your dad said that? I finally asked, keeping my tone neutral. Yeah. He said he's worried about me and that he just wanted to be honest with me about what happened between you guys. The thing about being the steady parent is that you don't get to be angry. You don't get to unleash. You don't get to say things like, your father is a lying sack of shit who spent 30 grand on his face while telling me we couldn't afford your extracurriculars. You have to be measured. Reasonable. The kind of person who doesn't weaponize information against the other parent, even when they desperately deserve it. I hated that about myself sometimes. Well, I said carefully, I appreciate him being honest with you. I'm sure he believes what he's saying. Do you think he's right? That you were controlling? My hands tightened on the wheel. I think divorce is complicated, sophomore. I think there are a lot of reasons things fell apart, and your dad's perspective on those reasons is valid to him, just like mine is valid to me. But I also think you're smart enough to form your own opinions about what you've observed. She didn't say anything else, which meant I'd managed to navigate that particular minefield without exploding. But my mind was already elsewhere, already spinning with possibility. We got to the restaurant, Piccolo's, where they made fresh pasta, and the owner always remembered that Sophia liked extra garlic, and I tried to be present. I asked her about school, about her friends, about whether she was excited about graduation in 3 weeks. She gave me the kind of answers teenagers give, short, polite, technically responsive but emotionally empty. Somewhere between the appetizers and the main course, I got a text from my friend Karen. Asterisk, holy shit, you won't believe what I just saw. Is Marcus's new profile pic real? He looks like a different person. Asterisk. I almost laughed. It was like the universe was conspiring to remind me of the secret I now held. Mom? You okay? I looked up from my phone. Sophia was watching me with something like concern, which was at least better than the distance she'd been maintaining. Yeah, babe. Just work stuff. But it wasn't work stuff. It was the growing realization that I had leverage. Real, actual leverage. Marcus's entire narrative to his mother depended on a lie. His appearance-obsessed, judgmental mother, the woman who'd once told me I'd let myself go 3 months postpartum, was currently believing that her son had achieved his transformation through pure willpower and discipline. She would lose her mind if she knew the truth. And here's the thing nobody really tells you about divorce. It brings out a version of yourself you don't recognize. It makes you capable of thoughts you'd never entertained before. I'd always been the nice one in my relationship with Marcus. The one who compromised. The one who forgave. The one who swallowed down her anger and tried to see his perspective. But being manipulated through your child? That was a new line. Friday evening, after I dropped Sophia at Marcus's apartment, a place I'd only seen in photos, a place that didn't contain a single memory of the life we built together, I sat in my car in the parking lot and texted my friend Diana. Asterisk, I need to ask you something hypothetical. Asterisk. Diana called me back within 30 seconds. That's Diana, no patience for text conversations. What's wrong, she said, skipping pleasantries entirely. Nothing's wrong. If someone was lying to their family about something significant, and it was affecting their credibility in other areas of their life, would it be wrong to tell that family the truth? There was a pause. Diana knew enough about my situation to understand the subtext immediately. What did he do? She asked. That's not the point. It's absolutely the point, actually. Are we talking about cheating? Financial fraud? What? Nothing that serious. But he's lying to his mother about something, and she's believing the lie, and it's contributing to a narrative he's building that's affecting his relationship with his daughter. Diana was quiet for another moment. Then, you're going to blow up something important to make a point. I can hear it in your voice. I'm not. You are. I know you. You're thinking about his graduation party. Or his mother's birthday. Or some event where she'll be present and you can casually drop the truth like a bomb and just walk away. My stomach twisted because she was right. Completely, utterly right. I could already picture it. The graduation ceremony was coming up, Sophia's graduation, actually, but Marcus's family would be there. His mother would be there, sitting in the audience, proud of her dedicated son. And I could imagine running into her at the reception, mentioning something in passing about the aesthetic work Marcus had done, watching her face shift, watching the foundation of his lie crumble in real time. It would be beautiful. It would also be catastrophic. If I'm thinking about it, I said slowly, then I should probably not do it, right? That's what you're going to tell me. I'm going to tell you that you have a daughter who's already caught between 2 people she loves, and she doesn't need you weaponizing information against her father, no matter how much he deserves it. He's the one manipulating her. And you be retaliating. It's not the same thing, but it's in the same ballpark, and from where she's sitting, she won't see the difference. She'll just see her mom doing something calculated to hurt her dad. I hated when Diana was right. She was right probably 60% of the time, which was enough to make her insufferable but not enough to make me dismiss her completely. So what do? I asked. Just let him poison her against me? Just watch him rebuild his image while he's actively trying to damage mine? You be the stable one. You're already winning that battle, by the way. Sophia might not show it, but she notices who's trying to manipulate her and who isn't. And you create an environment where she feels safe coming to you. You don't need to blow up his lies, you just need to be someone worth trusting when she inevitably figures them out on her own. That could take years. Probably, Diana agreed. But what's the alternative? You burn everything down for the satisfaction of being right? After we hung up, I sat in my car for another 20 minutes, phone in hand, thinking about the graduation ceremony. It was going to be so easy. One comment to his mother. One casual mention of how impressed she must be with his commitment to self-improvement, how many procedures that must have required. Just one sentence to destroy him. Sophia was still at his apartment. I wondered what he was telling her. Whether he was still building his case against me, cementing his narrative in her mind, or whether he'd moved on to other manipulation tactics. I wondered if she was buying it, or if she was like me, someone who was starting to understand that the people you love can be fundamentally dishonest. I started the car and drove home to an empty house. #chunk 3. The week between that conversation with Diana and Sophia's graduation felt simultaneously endless and impossibly short. I found myself in a strange state of cognitive dissonance, intellectually accepting that Diana was right while emotionally unable to let go of the fantasy of revenge. It was like holding 2 competing truths in my mind at once. I knew I shouldn't do it, and I was absolutely going to do it. Except I wasn't. That was the torture of it. Instead, I threw myself into graduation logistics. I helped Sophia pick out flowers for her hair. I took her to get her nails done. I listened to her stress about her speech. She'd been chosen to give one of the student addresses, which thrilled and terrified her in equal measure. These were the moments when she seemed most like herself, least like a cautious teenager caught between 2 worlds. On Wednesday, 3 days before the ceremony, Marcus called me. Not texted. Actually called. Hey, he said when I picked up. His voice had that careful, neutral tone he used when he wanted something. I wanted to talk about Saturday. What about Saturday? Well, my mom and some of my extended family are flying in Thursday. They're staying through the weekend. I was thinking it would be nice if we could all get together afterward, like a family dinner or something. To celebrate Sophia. I actually laughed. Not a nice laugh. You want me to have dinner with your mother? I want Sophia to have a nice graduation celebration with both of her families present. Is that really so terrible? The thing about Marcus was that he was genuinely skilled at this, at reframing his wants as something noble. At making your reasonable boundaries sound petty and small. I'd fallen for it 100 times during our marriage. I don't think that's appropriate, I said carefully. Sophia can spend time with your family separately. But I'm not going to a family dinner with your mother. She's not the monster you make her out to be. I haven't said a single thing about your mother being a monster. I just don't want to spend an evening with her. That's not unreasonable. It's bitter. It's taking out your frustration with me on. No. I cut him off. It's having a boundary. Your mother is lovely to you. She's been less than kind to me. We can coexist at Sophia's graduation ceremony because it's about her. But we don't need to pretend to be friends afterward. He was quiet for a moment. Then, Sophia was hoping we could all do something together. She said so. This was new territory. This was him directly using Sophia as a tool, and something in me snapped. Did she, or did you suggest it to her in a way that made her feel obligated to want it? Jesus, you really do think the worst of me. I think you're actively trying to manipulate our daughter into situations that make you look better. And honestly, Marcus, I don't need to do anything about that. She'll figure it out on her own. After we hung up, I sat for a long time thinking about what he'd said. Had Sophia mentioned wanting a family dinner? It was possible. It was also possible that he'd planted the seed in her mind and she'd repeated it back to him, the way kids do when they're trying to keep both parents happy. I texted her, *Hey babe, your dad mentioned maybe doing a family dinner after graduation. How would you feel about that, *? She didn't respond for almost an hour. When she did, it was, *ick. Dad was talking about it. It might be nice but also weird, *. So there it was. He'd suggested it, she'd been non-committal, and he presented her response to me as enthusiastic desire. Classic Marcus. Thursday arrived with the kind of perfect spring weather that feels like a personal insult when you're this anxious. Sophia had asked if she could stay with me the night before graduation, something about needing her lucky pillow and the comfort of her room. Marcus had agreed without argument, which made me suspicious. But I didn't ask questions. I just let her come home. She was nervous in a way I hadn't seen in months. She paced my kitchen while I made her favorite breakfast. She changed outfits 4 times. She kept checking her phone to see if there were any typos in her speech. You're going to be great, I told her. What if I freeze up? What if I get up there and forget everything? You won't. But even if you did, people would understand. You're a kid giving a speech in front of hundreds of people. The bar is not that high. She smiled a little at that. For a few hours, we existed in a bubble where she was just my daughter and I was just her mom and there was no Marcus, no custody negotiations, no manipulation. Just us. Around dinner time, she got a text from her father. I watched her face change as she read it. Something tightened. Something shut down. Everything okay? I asked carefully. Yeah. Dad's mom wants to do brunch tomorrow before the ceremony. At that place downtown. He's asking if I want to go. Do you want to? I mean, kind of. But Grandma Susan can be a lot. And I'd rather just, be with you before the big thing. But Dad made it sound like she's really excited to see me and... She trailed off, looking genuinely distressed. This was the moment. This was where I could either do what Diana suggested, be the stable parent, create safety, or I could do what I'd been fantasizing about for 2 weeks. I chose the high road. It tasted like ashes. You should go, I said. Your grandmother wants to see you. That's important. I'll come pick you up with plenty of time before the ceremony. You're sure? I'm sure. You're not mad? Why would I be mad? You want to have brunch with your grandmother. That's sweet. She visibly relaxed. Okay. Thanks, Mom. Of course, babe. That night, alone in my room with the door closed, I allowed myself 15 minutes to fantasize about it. I imagined Grandma Susan at brunch, bragging about Marcus's dedication to self-improvement. I imagined myself calling her, casually mentioning the procedures, asking if she'd noticed how his nose was different from old family photos. But I didn't call her. Instead, I sat on my bed and I thought about Sophia's relief when I told her to go. I thought about what Diana had said. I thought about the kind of person I wanted to be. And I went to sleep knowing I'd made the right choice while absolutely hating myself for it. #Chunk4. The graduation ceremony was held at the high school's outdoor amphitheater, a venue I'd always found pretentious until I saw Sophia in her cap and gown, and suddenly it seemed exactly right. The setting sun painted everything golden, and for a moment, I let myself believe that this day could just be about her achievement. That maybe we could all manage to be civil for a few hours. I arrived early to get a good seat, before the bleachers filled up. I'd chosen a spot in the middle left section, where I could see the stage clearly but wasn't directly in the line of sight of the family section I knew Marcus's relatives would occupy. Cowardly, perhaps, but strategic. I wasn't ready to spend 3 hours making small talk or pretending not to notice his mother's judgmental once-overs. As people filtered in, I found myself doing something I hadn't done in years, people watching with the specific purpose of identifying Marcus's family. It was strange, this detective work. His mother, Grandma Susan, I'd recognize anywhere, that particular way she held herself, ramrod straight, chin slightly elevated, as if everyone around her was failing to meet her standards. His younger sister, Melissa, had Marcus's chin but their father's kind eyes. I'd always liked Melissa, which made things complicated. They arrived as a unit at 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the ceremony was scheduled to start. I watched from my seat as Marcus guided his mother down the row, his hand on her elbow. She was smaller than I remembered, or perhaps I'd just built her up in my mind to be larger than life. She wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly car payment, and her expression was pleasant but watchful, the way someone observes something they're assessing for quality. And then I saw Sophia, peeking out from backstage in her cap and gown, trying to catch sight of her father before the ceremony began. Her face lit up when she spotted him. He waved, and she waved back with a kind of unself-conscious joy that made my chest ache. Whatever else Marcus was, he was still her father. She still loved him. That was the truth I'd been dancing around for 2 weeks. The ceremony itself was beautiful and unbearably long. 73 students graduated that night, which meant 73 names called, 73 walks across the stage. I clapped for all of them, but my attention was really on the waiting for Sophia's name. When it came, the applause was thunderous. She walked with her head high, looking out into the audience. For a second, I thought she was looking at me, and I stood up to applaud. But then I realized her gaze had passed over me. She was looking at her father. The student speeches came next. There were 3 of them, and Sophia was second. As she climbed the stairs to the podium, I felt my heart rate spike. She'd been practicing her speech for weeks, but watching her actually do it in front of hundreds of people was different. She looked so small up there, so young. "Thank you," she began, and her voice was steady. "I'm Sophia Martinez, and I've spent the last 4 years of my life at this school learning not just from my classes, but from the people around me." I watched her speak. She talked about resilience, about how life doesn't go according to plan and that's actually okay. She talked about having 2 homes and 2 families and how that taught her to adapt. She talked about the people who supported her, and she didn't name them, didn't single out one parent over another, but she said, "You know who you are, and I'm so grateful for you." It was a smart speech, a mature speech, and she delivered it beautifully. When she finished, the applause was immediate and sustained. I was crying, which annoyed me. I'd specifically decided not to cry because mascara and red eyes and being a mess in front of Marcus seemed like a bad combination. After the ceremony ended and everyone was milling around taking photos, I hung back. I was giving Sophia space to see her father, her grandmother, her extended family. That was the right thing to do. Diana would be proud of me. I was being the mature one, the stable parent, the person who put her child's needs first. It was working perfectly until Sophia found me in the crowd and pulled me aside, her face troubled. "Hey," she said quietly, guiding me away from the throng of celebratory families. "Can we talk for a second?" "Of course, baby." "What's wrong?" "You were amazing up there." "I know, but," she glanced around nervously. "Grandma Susan was being weird at brunch this morning. She kept asking me questions about you. Like, really specific questions. About whether you're dating anyone, whether you drink, whether you're happy or whatever." My stomach dropped. "What kind of questions?" "Just, like, really focused questions." And then she was making comments about how Dad has really cleaned up his life and is focused on his health and appearance now, and it was just strange, Mom. The tone of it. And Dad kept giving her these looks like he wanted her to stop, but she wasn't stopping. I processed this. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing really. I said you were great and happy and doing fine." But then on the way home, Dad seemed annoyed. Like, more annoyed than usual. He was making comments about how it's important that family presents a united front and that I shouldn't be discussing family business with people who don't understand. "Sophia. Also, I didn't tell you this because I wasn't sure if it was weird or not, but yesterday Dad asked me if you'd mentioned anything about him to me. Like, anything specific. He said, 'Has your mom said anything about me to you? Anything about my appearance or my health or anything like that?' I felt something cold slide down my spine. It was possible he was just being paranoid. It was also possible that he somehow knew I was planning to tell his mother about the surgery, and he was trying to get ahead of it. Or, and this was the thought that made my hands feel shaky, he was testing Sophia. Seeing if I'd used her as a conduit to spread information to his family. "What did you tell him?" I asked, keeping my voice level. I said no. "Because you haven't." "But Mom, what was that about?" "Why would he ask that?" I took a breath. Behind us, I could hear Grandma Susan's distinctive laugh, that particular tinkling sound that always made me want to move to another state. "It's just complicated adult stuff," I said, which was the worst possible answer and made Sophia's expression shut down immediately. That's what people say when they won't tell you the truth. She was right, of course. And I realized in that moment that whatever moral high ground I'd claimed by choosing not to tell Grandma Susan about the plastic surgery, I'd forfeited the moment I became dishonest with my daughter. "You're right," I said. "Come on. Let's go somewhere quieter and I'll explain." #Chunk 5. We found a quieter corner near the parking lot, away from the celebratory chaos. The evening had turned cooler, and Sophia wrapped her arms around herself despite still wearing her graduation gown over her dress. I guided her to a nearby bench, and we sat down, the weight of this conversation settling between us like something physical. "Your dad spent $30,000 on plastic surgery during our marriage," I said without preamble. I planned to ease into it, to find the right words, but Sophia deserved better than that. She deserved the truth. He had a facelift, liposuction, and chin implants. It happened while we were still married, and he told me he wanted to keep it private from his family because his mother has particular opinions about people who have cosmetic procedures. Sophia stared at me for a long moment. "Okay," she said slowly. "And, why are you telling me this now?" "Because your father just tried to use you to figure out if I was going to tell his mother the truth. And because you deserve to know what's actually happening instead of being caught in the middle of whatever this is." "What do you mean, whatever this is?" There was an edge to her voice now. "Are you saying Dad is, what, trying to manipulate me?" I chose my words carefully. "I think your father is worried that I might tell his mother about the surgery. I don't think he was trying to be malicious with you, sweetheart. But yes, asking you those kinds of questions designed to see if I'd been confiding in you about his personal business, that's a form of manipulation. It's putting you in a position where you're either lying to him or you're inadvertently reporting back to him about your conversations with me. So what, you're going to tell Grandma Susan? Sophia's jaw was tight. Because that seems petty, Mom. Like, really petty. Who cares if he had surgery? I hadn't decided yet, I said, and that was true. Or at least, it was becoming true. The certainty I'd felt 2 weeks ago, the clean line between justice and revenge, was blurring. But the principle of the thing, he's been lying about it. He's been telling his family it's all natural results from his fitness journey, and meanwhile, he's sitting in judgment of other people, of me, of how I look and how I parent, and that makes you want to hurt him, Sophia finished, not as a question. That's not. It is though, she interrupted. She stood up abruptly, and the movement made her graduation gown flare out around her. You want to make him look bad in front of his mom. That's literally what you're saying. You want to embarrass him. Sophia. Do you know what he said to me last week? She wasn't looking at me anymore, she was looking at her shoes, at the darkening parking lot, at anywhere but my face. He said that you were angry because he'd moved on and found happiness, and that sometimes when people are left behind, they lash out. He said it wasn't my fault, and I shouldn't take it personally, but I should be aware that you might say things about him that were designed to hurt him because you were hurt. I felt something hot and bitter rise in my chest. He said that? And I defended you. Her voice cracked slightly. I told him that wasn't fair, that you've always been supportive of me having a relationship with him. And I meant it. But now you're making me wonder if he was right. Now you're making me wonder if you're just angry. Baby, I'm not, I stopped, because the truth was more complicated than a simple denial. I was angry. I had been angry. I still was, in certain moments, though I'd been trying very hard not to be. But anger at someone's dishonesty and manipulation wasn't the same as wanting to destroy them out of spite. Was it? Here's what I need to know, Sophia said, and she finally looked at me directly, and her eyes were so serious, so adult, and I realized I'd been underestimating her. I'd been treating her like a child to protect instead of a person trying to understand her own family. Are you going to tell Grandma Susan about the surgery to protect me from Dad's manipulation? Or are you going to tell her to get back at him for hurting you? The question hung in the air between us, and I couldn't answer it immediately because I wasn't entirely sure myself. Which version was true? Both? Neither? I don't know, I admitted finally. A week ago, I would have said it was for you. Now I'm not sure. I thought I was being protective, but maybe I was being vengeful. I don't know if there's even a difference anymore. Sophia was quiet for a long time. Then she sat back down beside me, not quite touching but close enough that I could feel her presence. I don't want you to do it, she said quietly. Not because I'm protecting Dad, and not because I don't believe you about the manipulation or whatever. But because I'm tired of being the rope in a tug-of-war. I'm 16, Mom. I just graduated high school. I have a whole life coming up, and I need both of you to not be at war, even if you're not together anymore. Your father is the one. I know, she interrupted. I know he started it. I know he's not being great. But you're the adult I trust more. You're the one I look to be the stable one, the reasonable one. And if you tell his family his secrets as payback, then you're not that person anymore. You're just another person playing games with me in the middle. I wanted to argue. I wanted to explain why this felt justified, why his deception and his manipulation warranted a response. But what would be the point? Sophia was right. She'd already named what I'd been avoiding saying to myself, that whatever moral justification I'd constructed for my plan, at its core it was about making him feel what I'd felt. Humiliation. Exposure. Shame. Okay, I said finally. Okay. I hear you. Does that mean you won't do it? I thought about calling Diana, about consulting the therapist who guided me through the divorce, about making a pros and cons list like some kind of productivity app. But really, it came down to what Sophia had already said. She was the one caught in the middle. She was the one who would bear the consequences. No, I said. I won't tell her. Sophia exhaled like she'd been holding her breath the entire conversation. Thank you. But even as I said it, even as I meant it, I could feel something settling in my chest. The anger wouldn't disappear just because I decided not to act on it. It would just have to live inside me, unresolved, waiting. #chunk 6. The drive home from graduation was silent except for the soft hum of the radio. Sophia stared out the window, still in her graduation gown, which she refused to change out of despite my gentle suggestions. I understood. Sometimes holding on to the symbols of a good day is the only way to keep it from dissolving entirely. My phone buzzed 3 times during the drive. I didn't check it, my hands were on the wheel and my attention was supposedly on the road, but I knew who it was. I could feel his texts like phantom vibrations against my thigh. When we got home, Sophia disappeared upstairs to her room. I heard her door close with deliberate softness, which somehow felt worse than a slam. I stood in the kitchen, finally checking my phone. From David, 7:42 p.m. We need to talk about tonight. From David, 7:58 p.m. Sophia seems upset. Did something happen? Asterisk asterisk. From David, 8:15 p.m. Don't drag her into whatever this is. She doesn't deserve that asterisk asterisk. My hand shook slightly as I set the phone down on the counter. The irony was so perfect it was almost funny, him accusing me of dragging Sophia into things while she was literally the one who dragged this conversation out of me. But he didn't know that. He wouldn't know that. He was operating on the assumption that I'd been the one to poison the well. I poured myself a glass of wine I hadn't planned on drinking and sat at the kitchen island, staring at my reflection in the dark screen of my laptop. The woman looking back at me seemed unfamiliar. When had I started looking like someone who could be a villain in her own story? My phone buzzed again. From David, 8:23 p.m. Call me. I didn't call him. Instead, I texted Diana. To Diana, I didn't do it. I told Sophia about the surgery, but I decided not to tell his mother, asterisk asterisk. Diana's response came almost immediately, which told me she was probably still out, probably still celebrating with other parents. From Diana, that's actually really mature of you. What changed your mind, asterisk asterisk. To Diana, Sophia. She made a very good point about being caught in the middle. I don't want to be the adult who weaponizes information against her father, asterisk asterisk. The lie came so smoothly I almost believed it myself. Yes, Sophia's speech had been moving. Yes, she'd made valid points about not wanting to be a rope in a tug-of-war. But the real truth was more complicated and more troubling. I decided not to tell Susan because I wanted to be able to look Sophia in the eye without flinching. I'd chosen the moral high ground because it was the only thing left that made me feel like myself. But that choice was already beginning to cost me. I could feel it like a pressure building behind my sternum, the decision to stay silent about David's deception while he continued to lie, while he continued to position himself as someone trustworthy and honest. He was out there right now, probably, telling people about his natural transformation, accepting compliments he hadn't earned, all while I sat in my kitchen knowing the truth and saying nothing. From Diana, hey, I'm proud of you. Seriously. That takes character, asterisk asterisk. I didn't respond to Diana. Instead, I set my phone face down on the counter and pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. Around 9 p.m., I heard footsteps on the stairs. Sophia appeared in the kitchen doorway, no longer in her graduation gown. She'd changed into sweatpants and one of her father's old college t-shirts, a choice that felt pointed but probably wasn't. She looked exhausted in a way that 16-year-olds shouldn't. Did you text Dad? She asked, moving to the refrigerator. No. He texted me several times. Why? He called me. He said you seemed upset after he left the ceremony, and he wanted to make sure I was okay. She pulled out a pitcher of lemonade and poured a glass with mechanical precision. He said sometimes parents take things out on their kids when they're angry with each other, and if that happened, I could talk to him about it. I felt something flash hot and angry in my chest. Did you tell him we talked? No. She turned to face me, her expression guarded. I said I was fine and we didn't really talk about anything. But Mom, he's checking up on me. He's worried about me. That's what good parents do. That's what manipulative parents do, I said, and I heard the edge in my voice and couldn't quite smooth it away. He's trying to get information from you by presenting himself as concerned and caring. Or he's actually concerned and caring. Sophia's jaw was tight. You can't just paint everything he does as manipulation. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, a bitter sound. Sophia, your father spent $30,000 on cosmetic surgery during our marriage without discussing it with me, told me not to tell anyone, and then spent the next several years lying about it to his family. He's currently trying to manipulate you into reporting back to him about my state of mind. And I'm the one being unfair? You're twisting it, she said, her voice rising slightly. He was trying to see if you were okay. That's not. He was trying to figure out if I was going to blow up his relationship with his family. There's a difference. Is there? Sophia set down her glass harder than necessary. Or are you both just trying to use me as a spy and a sympathizer and you're both mad that I'm not playing along the way you want me to? I opened my mouth to respond and then closed it again because she was right, wasn't she? In my relief at having decided not to tell Susan, in my self-righteousness about taking the moral high ground, I was still doing exactly what Sophia had asked me not to do. I was still treating her like a pawn. I was still expecting her loyalty, still wanting her to see David's actions the way I did, still hoping that if I explained it the right way, she'd be on my side instead of just trying to survive in the middle. You're right, I said quietly. I'm sorry. I'm tired, Sophia said, and she sounded it. I'm tired of being the translator between you two. I'm tired of trying to be fair to both of you when you won't be fair to each other. I'm just tired. She took her lemonade and left the kitchen. I heard her door close again upstairs, softer this time, but it felt like a wall had gone up between us. The wall of all the things I couldn't say, couldn't do, couldn't be angry about without hurting her in the process. My phone buzzed again. Another text from David. From David, 9:47 p.m. She wouldn't talk to me about you. Not sure what that means, but I'm keeping an eye on things. For her sake, asterisk asterisk. I turned the phone off. I didn't trust myself not to respond. #chunk7. I didn't turn my phone back on until the next morning. I told myself it was about not being dramatic, about not spiraling into late-night texting wars that would only make everything worse. The truth was simpler and uglier. I was afraid of what I might say if I gave myself the chance. The kitchen was bright with early sunlight when I finally powered it on. 17 missed messages. 12 from David. 5 from numbers I didn't recognize. 1 voicemail from an unknown caller that made my stomach tighten. I played it first. Hi, this is Susan Chin calling. David's mother's voice was precise, controlled, but underneath it I could hear something trembling. I need to speak with you about some very troubling information I received last night. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. My hands went cold. I scrolled back through David's messages, my vision narrowing. From David, 10:15 p.m. Why did you tell my mother about the surgery? From David, 10:17 p.m. Are you kidding me right now? At Sophia's graduation, asterisk asterisk. From David, 10:31 p.m. You've crossed a line. I don't even know what to say to you, asterisk asterisk. From David, 10:45 p.m. My mother is furious. She thinks I'm a liar. Congratulations, asterisk asterisk. From David, 11:02 p.m. You told her, didn't you? You actually did it. What kind of person does that, asterisk asterisk. From David, 12:34 a.m. I'm calling my lawyer. You've weaponized our daughter and now you're weaponizing my family. This is harassment, asterisk asterisk. From David, 12:47 a.m. Sophia is going to hate you for this. I hope it was worth it, asterisk asterisk. My chest felt like it was caving in. I hadn't told Susan. I had made that choice explicitly, had felt virtuous about it, had texted Diana my moral superiority. So either David was lying, trying to gaslight me into thinking I'd done something I hadn't, or Sophia had done it. The thought crystallized so suddenly I had to sit down. Sophia, who had asked me not to tell Susan. Sophia, who had made that beautiful, heartbreaking speech about not wanting to be a rope in a tug-of-war. Sophia, who had looked so exhausted and asked me not to use her as a pawn. Sophia had gone behind my back and told her grandmother exactly what I had decided not to tell her. I called her. She didn't answer. I texted, we need to talk. Now, asterisk asterisk. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. I made coffee I didn't drink and paced the kitchen, trying to construct a narrative that made sense. Had she been angry with me? Had she decided that if I wouldn't hold David accountable, she would? Or was this something else, some kind of teenage rebellion, a way of reasserting control in a situation where she'd felt powerless? My phone rang. It was David. Did you know? He asked without preamble. Know what? David, I didn't tell your mother. I decided not to. Right. You decided not to because Sophia made you feel guilty about it, so instead you sent your teenage stepdaughter to do it for you. That's not what happened. Isn't it? Because that's what it looks like from where I'm standing. You've been playing the martyr, acting like you're the bigger person for not telling my mother, when really you were just training Sophia to do it instead. You weaponized her after all. You just made it one step more removed. I didn't, I stopped. Because the terrible thing was, he wasn't entirely wrong. Even though I hadn't sent Sophia to tell Susan, I had raised her, shaped her values, taught her about honesty and holding people accountable. If she'd gone to her grandmother, it was at least partly because she'd absorbed those lessons from me. I genuinely didn't know she was going to do that. Bull. Shit. His voice was cold now, the kind of cold that comes from a place deeper than anger. You know what? I don't even care anymore. You've made your point. I look like a liar to my entire family. My mother won't return my calls. My sister called me at midnight to tell me she feels betrayed. Happy? Is this what you wanted? No. And I meant it. Now that it had happened, now that the damage was done, I realized I really hadn't wanted this. My decision not to tell Susan had been the correct one, not because of virtue signaling or moral high ground, but because it would have made me the villain. And someone had to stay the hero in Sophia's eyes. Someone had to be the adult who rose above it, who chose the harder path. That was supposed to be me. Sophia's going to hear it from me now, David said. And she's going to understand that you used her. That you manipulated her into doing your dirty work. I didn't. I'm done talking to you. He hung up. I stood in the kitchen with my phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. The coffee had gone cold. The sunlight through the window felt accusatory. Sophia still hadn't texted back. I went upstairs and knocked on her door. No answer. I opened it anyway, this was still my house, still my responsibility, and found her room empty. Her backpack was gone from the corner where she usually left it. Her phone charger was unplugged from the wall. My heart rate spiked. I called her again. Straight to voicemail this time, she'd either turned it off or rejected the call. I tried texting. Sophia, where are you? Please respond. We need to talk about this ***. This wasn't okay. You know what you did ***. Please don't make this worse. Nothing. I went back downstairs and checked the Find My app. She disabled location sharing. Of course she had. My phone rang. Susan this time. Before you say anything, I started. I need to know if you put her up to this, Susan said. No preamble, no pleasantries. Did you? No. I swear I didn't. I told Sophia I wasn't going to tell you, and I meant it. There was a long pause. She said you didn't tell me. She said she decided it was the right thing to do on her own. But I need to know if that's true or if that's just what you taught her to say. It's true. I promise you, I didn't know she was going to do this. Then where is she now? Because David called me in a panic saying she's not answering her phone and not at home, and I thought perhaps she'd come to you, but apparently you're looking for her too. The floor seemed to shift beneath my feet. What do you mean she's not at home? David said she left this morning before he woke up. Left a note saying she needed space. He assumed she was with you. I gripped the counter. She's not with me. I don't know where she is. In the background, I could hear Susan exhale sharply. Then we have a problem, she said. We have a very serious problem. #Chunk8. The next 3 hours were a blur of frantic phone calls and mounting panic. Susan called the police and filed a missing person report. David called me twice more, his voice shifting from rage to something worse, genuine fear. I contacted Diana, who immediately started reaching out to Sophia's friends. Nobody had heard from her. Nobody knew where she was. I sat in the living room, phone clutched in my hand, running through scenarios my brain had no business constructing. Was she safe? Had she run away? Had something happened to her on the road? The guilt was suffocating, a physical thing pressing down on my chest. David's words echoed, ***, you weaponized her. You manipulated her into doing your dirty work, ***. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd made my choices and raised her in my image, and now she was suffering the consequences of living in a family that couldn't stop weaponizing each other. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. Is this Sophia's stepmom? The voice belonged to a woman I didn't recognize. Yes. Do you have information about? She's here. She's safe. She's been with me since this morning. It took me a moment to process. Who is this? My name is Linda Martinez. Sophia's guidance counselor from school. She came to my house this morning because she didn't know what else to do. She was having a panic attack. She's been terrified all day that she's ruined everything, your family, the custody situation, all of it. She's been crying for hours. The relief was so intense I nearly collapsed. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Can I talk to her? She doesn't want to talk to anyone yet. But I wanted to let you know she's safe, and I wanted to hear your side of things before I contact her father and grandmother. She's told me what happened, but she's a 16-year-old in crisis, and I need to understand the full context. I spent the next 20 minutes explaining everything to Linda. The marriage, the divorce, David's manipulation, my decision not to tell Susan, and my shock at discovering Sophia had done it herself. I didn't try to make myself sound good. I didn't pretend I'd made purely noble choices. I just told her the truth. She's carrying a lot of responsibility that isn't hers, Linda said quietly. She feels like she had to choose between her father's lies and loyalty to you. And when she made that choice, she felt like she betrayed everyone. I never wanted her to feel that way. I know. But families are complicated, especially blended ones. She's going to need support, all of you are. An hour later, I drove to Linda's house. Sophia was sitting on the porch steps, her eyes red and puffy, her whole frame curled inward like she was trying to make herself smaller. When she saw my car, she didn't move. I sat down beside her, careful not to touch her, not to assume I had the right. I'm sorry, she said before I could speak. I know you told me not to tell Grandma Susan. I know you made a choice, and I completely undermined that, and I'm sorry. Why did you do it? She was quiet for a long time. Because Dad called me this morning and was still trying to convince me that you're the bad guy in all of this. He was telling me that you were manipulating me, that you wanted him to fail. And I couldn't listen to him lie anymore. I couldn't be in the middle of this situation where he's asking me to choose a side by believing his version of reality. So you told his mother. I told her because she deserves to know the truth. And because I thought maybe if she knew, then Dad would have to stop asking me to lie with him. I thought it would make things simpler. It didn't, I said gently. No. It made everything worse. Now Dad's angry at me, and I'm pretty sure he thinks I did it because you wanted me to, and I feel like I destroyed everything, and I don't know how to fix it. I finally reached over and took her hand. You didn't destroy anything. Your father and I destroyed things a long time ago. All you did was tell the truth, and I know that was hard. I'm not supposed to be the one telling truths. You're supposed to be the adult. You're supposed to protect me from this stuff. The words hit me like a physical blow because they were right. They were absolutely right. I had put her in an impossible position by raising her to value honesty and integrity while simultaneously asking her to navigate a situation where the adults were lying, manipulating, and using her as a pawn. And then I'd felt virtuous about choosing not to tell Susan myself, when really I just redistributed the burden to a teenager who was already carrying too much. You're right, I said. I should have protected you better. I should have made different choices. And I'm sorry. What happens now? Now I'm going to talk to your father and your grandmother, and we're going to figure out how to do this better. Because you're not going to be caught in the middle anymore. That's not fair to you, and I should have ensured that from the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, things slowly began to shift. Susan, once she understood the full context, actually surprised me. She called David and told him that lying to her was far worse than any cosmetic surgery, and that she was disappointed in his character, not his appearance. She also called me and said something I didn't expect: you were protecting her. I can see that now. Thank you for that. David and I arranged mediation with a family counselor, not to salvage the relationship, but to establish better boundaries and healthier communication patterns for Sophia's sake. It wasn't perfect. It was awkward and sometimes painful. But we all agreed that Sophia wouldn't be the messenger anymore. The most important conversation happened between David and Sophia. He apologized for trying to manipulate her, for asking her to choose sides. And Sophia apologized for going behind everyone's back, for not talking to any of us first. They're still working on rebuilding trust. As for me, I learned something crucial: protecting Sophia didn't mean being the hero. It meant being honest about my own limitations and failures. It meant acknowledging that sometimes the better choice isn't the one that makes you feel righteous. I never did tell Susan about the plastic surgery myself. Sophia did that, of her own volition, for her own reasons. And while it hurt to watch the fallout, I have to trust that she was old enough to make that choice, and strong enough to live with the consequences. The real victory wasn't exposing David's lies. It was learning to stop using our daughter as the weapon, even when we thought we were fighting on her behalf.